Hello and welcome to our online class of social science. Today I will explain chapter 1 of history in class 6th. Chapter's name is What, Where, How and When. You might see that these all are interrogative question mark words. Generally, these W family words we use to ask questions. So, in this chapter, when we discuss about what, where, how, and when, first of all, we have to understand the meaning of the word history. In simple words, if someone asks you what is history, so you may reply, it is the study of past. Meanwhile, study of past is called history. In other words, you can explain that study of past which has significance in future is called history. In class 6th, we have ancient Indian history. In ancient Indian history, we generally start this history from prehistoric age, from stone age up to Harshvardhana period. In this chapter, we will discuss following contents. Here content is given. These are generally considered as the main heading of the chapter. What we can know about the past. Where did people live? Names of the land. Finding out about the past. One past or many. What do dates mean? These are some of the points in this chapter which we will discuss step by step. First of all, in the beginning of chapter, one student's photo is shown. Her name is Rashida. Rashida was reading a newspaper. Suddenly, she read a news which was of 100 years ago. That incident happened before 100 years. So, she got surprised. How we can know about the event which happened before 100 years? Question came in her mind. So here this word how, this is related to history. Without how, what, where and when, we can't interpret events and incidents of the past. What happened before 100 years ago? Why it happened? How it happened? When it happened? These all are questions. So whatever happened in the past, for example, content slide and the introduction of the chapter which I have already shown you, that is also a history now. What you ate in the morning, what you studied yesterday, what you did in your previous class, what happened with you before 10 years, 5 years, that all is history. Meanwhile, whatever has happened in the past, that is history. So we divide history generally in 4 phases: ancient period, which is from the evolution of the human being till 7th century we consider, up to Harshvardhana's period. Then medieval period, that period we consider in 2 parts: early medieval and later medieval. In early medieval period, we take period from Harshvardhana's death to till Kutubuddin Aibak's period, means his coronation as a Sultan of Delhi in 1206 AD. And the second phase, which is known as later medieval period, that we take from Delhi Sultanate till the death of Aurangzeb, 1707 AD. Here I am using these 2 words, AD, and the another word is BC. Generally, for simple understanding, we may say that BC means before Christ, or in easy understanding, dates which are in descending order. Example, if a person is 10 years at the 100 BC, so he would be 20 years at 90 BC. Meanwhile, reverse order is there in BC, before Christ. You might have heard Jesus Christ, so from his birth means AD, Anno Domini, or in simple words, after him, after his death, we take AD, which is in ascending order, like 1, 2, 3, 4. So it is very, very important to know about our past, because if we will not learn from the past, means we will commit the same mistakes in future also. You can take the example, suppose you have not done hard work in your previous class and scored less marks. If you will repeat the same this year, then also you will get the same marks. But if you will learn from the past event, you will definitely get good result, happiness and joy. So in this chapter we will discuss all these points step by step as per the NCERT syllabus and CBSE curriculum. Here next para is related to what do we know about the past, means what we know about the past, or why this past is important, because whatever our predecessors did, means we have to get the information, how they lived, how they settled themselves in towns, cities, what was their livelihood. So these points are necessary. First, you see here in this slide that about the past we can come to know what people ate, whether they ate wheat, rice, barley, or they ate only flesh or meat, or they were dependent on fruits, what clothes they wore, their houses, means were they living inside the caves or they made their own huts, their lives as a hunter gatherer, herders, farmers, rulers, merchants, priests, craftspersons, artists, musicians, scientists, and games they played that time, stories they heard that time. Means this is very important to know about the past incidents, what happened that time, how people lived, how they started their life, how life began in simple words. You might have heard that in ancient period also there were scientists, although they had no degree, no diploma. But if you have heard the name of Susrut, means there was surgery by him in ancient period. You might have heard that in ancient period also they used such metals which are rustless. Gupta era's iron pillar inscription of Mehroli is one of the example. They wrote a famous epics of time. Nowadays we are reading Ramayana, Mahabharata. They used such type of styles. Even they played their games too. So they sang their songs also, but we don't have evidences of prehistoric age in which people they used their own script, although we are unable to read the script writing which is used by the Indus Valley civilization and the early people, because they used pictorial style. By watching the picture only we can understand what they were trying to convey. The real meaning we have not understood till now. Then in the next slide you can see here is the outline map of India. You might have studied in geography about the maps and their types. So here you can see that rivers are shown, so it is a physical map. On the other hand, state boundaries are also shown, so it may be considered as a political map. Simply it is a combination of both. Why I have shown this map to you? Because this is concerned with our chapter. Here we have the next paragraph about river Narmada and the people river living near that river. Suleiman and Kirtar hills and Indus and its tributaries. So let me show you these rivers on this map step by step. Here if you see in this map, when you see this Madhya Pradesh region, in Madhya Pradesh region, central parts of India, here this part which I have just highlighted means from this Madhya Pradesh region, this Amarkantak region, this Narmada river is originating and it falls in this Arabian Sea. Along with the river Tapti, or which is also called Tapi, this river is flowing towards the western coast of India. Generally, we may say that these rivers are making estuaries or river mouth, because here the western Ghat is very hard. That's why these are unable to make deltas in this region, whereas rivers flowing towards the east or towards this Bay of Bengal, for example, here we can see Ganga River, which is flowing towards the Arabian Sea. Here you can see the flow of this river. So this river is making delta, means it is leaving the sediments brought by this river near the coastal area. When its speed become very slow, it is making largest delta in this world. This is called Sundarban Delta. If you are aware that this Sundarban Delta is famous for Sundari trees also. So why these rivers are shown here? Let me show you the another river. Here another river which is shown, that is Indus. You can see here this river. The flow of this river is going towards Pakistan and then coming to this Arabian Sea region. It has many tributaries also, means tributaries of this river are also shown. Tributaries refers to when small rivers join a big river. These are called tributaries. So here Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Byas, these are some of the tributaries of river Jhelum, river Indus. In the same way, you can see that there are some tributaries of river Ganga, like this Yamuna, Ghagra, Gandak, Kosi, Chambal, Betwa, Son, means these are some of the tributaries. And Kirtar, Suleiman and Kirtar hills, these are given in Pakistan region. This side in the corner, these are given. And one hills are also mentioned in this chapter. We will discuss in detail, which are given in this Meghalaya region, Garo hills. So I will explain you these points one by one. First of all, related to river Narmada, there is a point that this river is flowing from last, you can say, many years, thousands of years. So people, they lived near the rivers. Reason was, means most of the civilizations of the world developed near the rivers only. The only reason is that they had requirement of water. Water is one of the basic essential element which is required to a human being for the life. So people of ancient period, they lived near the water so that they could grow their crops. They could, you can say, take water for their you can say life, as well as for their animals. They could grow some plants, fruit plants, as etc. That's why most of the civilizations developed near the water areas, near the rivers only. You might have heard Indus Valley civilization, first civilization of India, which is also known as Harappan civilization, that also developed near Indus River and its tributaries, or which is generally called a basin, river basin, means the area which is covered by that river. So near this Narmada river, means skilled gatherers, they lived and they knew about the past wealth of the plants and their surroundings, about the forests, their roots, how the roots are used. You might be aware that nowadays we are using some roots, carrot, radish, and they hunted animals. People of this area near the river Narmada, they hunted animals. So next point is Suleiman and Kirtar hills. These are in present Pakistan region area. So here also women and men first began to grow crops such as wheat and barley. Means about 8,000 years ago, means they started their cultivation in these areas. Okay. They also begin rearing animals, means animal domestication of animals like sheep, goat, cat, means and other animals, means they reared along with them, means that was used. Okay. Here agriculture developed in these areas, and this place where rice was first grown is also located in the Vindhya regions of India. Means here in Vindhya regions, in the central highlands areas, means rice grown evidences are found. Next we have related point related to Indus and its tributaries. River Indus, as I have shown you in the map, you may see here in the upper part of India, means generally this part, this Indus and its tributaries, these are the areas where this river is flowing. So definition of the tributary, I have told you that when small rivers, means they join the big river, or tributaries are the smaller rivers that flow into a larger river. In simple words, you can understand it. So about 4,700 years ago, some cities flourished on the banks of this river. You might have heard about Harappa, which is also called Harappa, and Mohenjo-daro. One, you can say, a film is also made on this Mohenjo-daro. It is produced by some of the directors, which has shown the ancient civilization of this Harappa or this Indus Valley region area. So cities developed on the coastal areas, on the banks of the rivers. Next we have Ganga River, which is also called Ganges, and its tributaries called the Son or river Son is discussed in this paragraph. So in the ancient time, means this Ganga River, means it had historic importance because many kingdoms developed on the banks of this river. In this class, in this chapter, we will discuss one of the important kingdom of this northern part of India, Magdha kingdom. Presently this Bihar state area, one of the large kingdom developed that time. So we will discuss in the forthcoming chapters about these kingdoms and their administration. Here we have very simple and easy question in this chapter. Very simple points we have, that why people traveled. This is one of the another paragraph. When you will read your chapter, it is very very important to read the chapter, otherwise you can understand from this slide that why people moved from one place to another place. So there are some logics. First, they moved in search of livelihood. You can understand why we move from one place to another place, why we go to another area, for what reasons. So the first reason is to get the money, to get salary, to get the livelihood, for the jobs. Second, to escape from ourselves, escape from the natural disasters, escape ourselves from natural disasters. Natural disasters are the disasters which are the circumstances in which there is a huge loss because of the natural calamity, like floods. Nowadays there is a flood in most of the states in India. You might have heard that due to flood, people they are leaving their areas and they are going to another areas. The second is drought. Drought type of situation means when there is no rainfall in any of the area, that is considered as a drought. Third reason is to conquer the other lands. Conquering other lands means to occupy the areas, to have the victory, to defeat the other rulers and occupying their regions. In the ancient period, people means they conquered the areas, or the rulers, they conquered the areas of other tribes and other rulers to get their wealth. And rearing of animal means that was considered the wealth that time. Means they were fighting for the cows mainly, because it is said that if you have enough resources of livelihood, bread and butter, then you can live easily. Third point is merchants, they traveled for trade. As you all know that today also merchants, shopkeepers, traders, they travel from one place to another place for their trade, for their business. You might have heard that nowadays the people are traveling from one country to another country. So they traveled for trade purposes. Next one, religious teachers, they moved from one place to another place for their teachings, so for preaching of their religion. You might have heard that many religious preachers means they preached their teachings in different parts of the country. You might have heard about Baba Guru Nanak Dev Ji, Kabir Ji. You might have heard some Chinese pilgrims, Fahian, Hyun Sen, means they came to India only for this purpose, to get the knowledge, to get the teachings of Buddhism. Another reason of movement for the people is for the adventure. Sometimes means for the adventure, for their enjoyment, for pleasure, they moved from one place to another place. Nowadays we also move from one place to another place for adventure. And next one is to discover the new lands, exciting places. You might have heard about the Magellan, you might have heard about Marco Polo, Columbus and Vasco da Gama, means who discovered India, so in 1498. So these are the people means who discovered and moved from one place to another place. Next slide is related to the names of the lands. Names of the land here, India is known by different names from the ancient period. Sometimes it was called Sapta Sindhu Pradesh, then Aryavart, means when Aryas they came, Jambu Dweep, because in our country you can say Jambu, here it is a Sanskrit word which has come from Jamuns, Jambu Dweep, Hindustan, because of the Hindu population in ancient period. Earlier it was a Hindu nation. Then India and Bharat. So here in this chapter these two words are discussed. India means this word is it has come from the Greeks, means this India word it has come from Indus word. Indus refers to Sindhu. Indus is known for the Sindhu river, means that is Sindhu in Sanskrit. So when Iranians and the Greeks they came to India around 2500 years ago, they were familiar about the Indus only, so they called Indian people as Hendos and Endas. So slowly and gradually this Hendos and Indus, these two words you can took the shape of India, and now this country is known as, you can say, India. In our constitution too, means India as a union of states, the complete name for the nation. Then Bharata. Bharata is also this name is mentioned in Rig Veda. It is about the Bharat king, means who was the popular king of the ancient period. So in his name you might have seen some of the allegories, some of the photos of King Bharata, along with one line is shown. See this picture very carefully. Here you will find that some letters, some words are written by hands. Means these are written by hands. Means handwritten words are here on this. So these are not computerized like today. Just like this manuscripts which is written on the top, it is typed. We have typed in computer, and these letters which you are watching now, although you hear some words you can easily understand, some are written in Sanskrit, so you can understand also that sansar means these such words are written here. So these are handwritten documents. So this is called manuscript. Now I will tell you what is manuscript. Here you have to understand the meaning of this term manuscript. Manu refers to hand. The meaning of the word manu is hand. Means it is this word, it has a meaning that hand written. It has come from the Latin word that hand written. Okay, that Latin word manu means hand, and manuscript refers to handwritten document. Now you will say, what, on what piece of paper or any cloth or anything else, means where it is written? So you will say that writings, in simple words, writings on palm leaves. Palm leaves, palm is a tree, and the leaf of that tree means it has long leaves. Okay, and these leaves are hard in comparison to another leaves. So in ancient period, sages or rishis or scribes, writers of that time, means they used natural colors of flowers and they wrote on palm leaves. Okay, so sometimes they used bark of the trees also. Bark of the trees were also used, especially the bark of birch tree. Means you can take a long you can say bark of this tree, and it is bit soft. It is easy to write on this bark of birch tree. So writings on palm leaf and bark of birch tree is known as by hand, means is known as manuscript. So manuscripts are written by hand. The basic thing that these are handwritten, and the second one, these were written on palm leaves and bark of the trees. Why it is very difficult to use the manuscripts right now, or why we use computerized typed letters nowadays? Why can't we use manuscripts for a long time? The reason is that manuscripts which we got from, you can say, ancient period, are archaeologists, are historians who, you can say, discovered these things. Some of the manuscripts are eaten away by the insects. Some are, you might understand that in our houses also, when we keep some papers in corners, so those papers are half eaten by some of the insects and some are destroyed. So these manuscripts are not fully clear as we are expecting. These are not found in the same shape as written in the ancient period. Some are found half eaten and some are destroyed. So it is very difficult to keep manuscripts safe. Second, some manuscripts are not visible because of the time the color faded. Color of the manuscripts faded, although sages of that time, writers of that period, they tried to keep these manuscripts inside the wooden boxes and you can say at the safe places, but because of the long time, because of the thousands of years ago these were written, that's why some are not visible, so we find difficulty to read these manuscripts in that way also. The third is some pages are missing because of the passage of time, thousands of years, some pages of these manuscripts are missing. That's why it is very difficult to find those pages. So why we need these manuscripts, what is the need of these manuscripts in present day? You can understand that these manuscripts are dealing with many subjects because these are the sources of history. Without the sources we can't come to know about the past. Generally coins, inscriptions, manuscripts, documents, literary evidences, bones, stone of that times, you can say some other evidences like toys, pottery, which is found in excavations by the archaeologists. These are called sources. So these are helpful to understand the history of the past. These are helpful to understand the study of the past. So these manuscripts are dealing with the religion, just like we come to know about Ramayana Mahabharata period through these manuscripts only. Beliefs and practices, what were happening that time, how people lived, lives of kings, how kings lived that time, medicines of that time, what they used. You might have heard that Lord Rama and Lakshman, when they had a battle, means war with Ravana, that time, means Meghnad used one Brahmastra, and means there was no anesthesia that time. That's why Lord Hanuman, means he was sent to bring the herbs from the Himalayan mountain regions. Okay. So that time means science and technology also we can come to know about the past. Epics means these Ramayana Mahabharata poems which were written that time, songs which were written that time. Plays, if you have heard about Kalidas, means he wrote famous plays of that time, Abhigyan Shakuntalam, Raghuvansham and all, Malvika Agnimitram. So most of these epics, these manuscripts are written in Sanskrit and Prakrit language. Even the southern literature that is written in Tamil language too. In South India, Sangams were held. Sangams means assemblies, sabhas, in which Mani Meklai, Silpadikaram and many other, you can say, epics and plays were written in the south part of India also. Now coming to inscription part. Inscription refers to writing on a hard surface. Manuscript and inscription both are different because manuscripts were on palm leaves or bark of the trees, but here the inscriptions are on hard surface, especially on metal and stone. Means people, they carved some letters on the stones. Generally these inscriptions were used to give the message of the king. You might have heard that King Ashoka of Mauryan dynasty, he also used many inscriptions, and the purpose of these inscriptions was to give the message of the king to the common people. So these writings were inscribed on the hard surface, mainly on the stone or any other metal. You might have heard Tamrapatras, metal sheets were used that time for the land grants, for the messages, etc. So Inscriptions are the writings on the hard surface such as stone or metal. So why we need these inscriptions? Because by reading these inscriptions we can come to know about the instructions and the periods of the ancient time, that how people lived, about their lives, rock edicts, about pillar inscriptions. You might have heard about uh, Ashoka's period, means during his period many inscriptions were inscribed. So people were expected to obey those instructions which were written on the stone pillars, even on the plates, even on the metals. Means they were asked to read those instructions, obey those instructions, and means these were clear cut warning as well as orders by the rulers which were written. Even sometimes these inscriptions were used to describe the achievements of the king. You might have heard that Allahabad Prashasti inscription of Samudragupta is one of them, in which it has been described that he was very famous and powerful king of that time, and he fought many battles. He was very brave. So means archaeologists, means they find out these inscriptions, these bones of the animals. Okay, generally these archaeologists are using their different methods to find out these potteries, pots, even utensils they find, and by the use of carbon 14 method, means they find out that when that incident happened. As I told you that we are using these terms: when, why, how and where. When it happened, how people lived in past. Next one is related to the terminology which is used for this book are pasts. Means pasts word is used instead of only single past. Plural of past is used, that is to draw the attention or the facts which happened in the past. For example, how the people lived, means many incidents took place step by step. That's why we use the terminology pasts for this. Okay, so I hope so that you have understood the main points. And what does dates means? Dates here it refers that generally I told you about the AD BC. Okay, that it happened before 2000 years ago, so that is before the Christ. Okay, and present day we use the terminology, these two abbreviations we use: AD. Okay, Anno Domini, or after the Christ, means generally after the birth of Christ. So it is very important to use these dates very carefully. For example, if means you write 200 AD in place of 200 BC, so this AD and BC made a confusion and you made a mistake of 400 years. So it's very important to write Anno Domini, this AD which happened after the Jesus Christ, and BC means which is before the Jesus Christ. So I hope that most of the points I covered in this chapter. When you will read this video, when you will read this chapter and listen this video carefully, you will definitely understand this chapter. Thank you very much. Write down your main points in your notebook and have a nice day. Thanks a lot.